What is one of the challenges that security people face today? Well, security people are generally speaking, not application developer folks. They are the people that want to enforce policies and who can get access to what we can do this in order to make sure that I'm compliant with all the regulations and have good sanity and good security. Conversely, application developer people are not security folks, so they don't like that this business of creating security in my code that deviates me from my business logic, and I may not be doing it right. And besides, if I do it that way and I want to make changes on the policy, then I need to revise that code and make changes on it. That sounds pretty ugly. So I can also go into Portal and define, who can actually, when I see all these applications mashed up and see to the glass of Portal, I can actually go into Portal administration and decide who can actually access some of those portals. I don't have much more level of granularity other than that, but that is something I can do. But again, if I'm a security fellow, I don't like to be a portal administrator. No, I think that the portal people would like me to be an administrator and go there and mess around with the policy. So how can I solve that dilemma? How can I solve that problem? Enter TSPM. TSPM has an interesting mechanism that actually allows it to use a discovery utility and go, for example, onto this JSP, the client search portlet, and this other portlet, the strategy portlet, and get all the objects and methods that are in these JSPs, in the multiple JSPs, and bring that information in an interchange file. It's an XML file in a format that now TSPM knows. Okay, now I know about all the objects that are into that and method and actions that are into those applications, and I can apply policy. Same thing with the discovery utility that we have for EAR files, for EJBs. This is, for example, an EJB application that controls who can actually add weekly forecast into a database. Again, bring that information in an interchange file, and bang, now I know about all those applications. I can also bring the users from LDAP, the same LDAP that Portal uses, and boom, I get to know about them. And I put and install a plugin into Portal that will allow me to actually enforce those policies that I will define on the TSP. I will be able to publish the policy once defined and make that plugin to actually enforce that. But before I move on, I'm talking here about integration with Portal, but I just want to highlight the fact that we also have integration with Sharepoint as another portal, and in general any J2EE and .NET via the container level integration. We also have integration with intermediary devices like data power, web services, ESBs, etc. We also have integration with the data level, with databases, by which we can actually intercept the SQL statement and add some conditions to it to enforce some security actions. We have integration with application level, and FileNet is a good example of those, where I can actually set up policy without having to know anything about FileNet. So now that I have brought all that information into my TSPF console, I want to do things like, for example, David, who is a member, because I made him member of the financial advisors group, is going to be able to see the client search portlet. This strategy is going to be able to not only see it but also invoke it. It's going to be active. It's going to be grayed out for all the people that are not in that group. And in the same way, he's going to be able to inject transactions into that database by adding a weekly forecast into it. And Jack B, who is a member of the financial user but not a member of the financial advisor, is not going to be able to do any of those things. So let's go back here. Let's go to the here where we have TSPM and WebSphere portal installed. So if we actually go to the Tivoli integrated portal, we can see, for example, here in the groups that we imported from the LDAP, that we have all these groups, and in the financial advisors groups we have David K. Pretty good. So we also look in the financial users. As we said before, we have Jack B. Okay, so those are the user's information. If we go here on the identity and access, go to the services, we actually are going to be able to see all that information that was brought by virtue of that interchange file. So let's look at this into more detail. We have information about the EAR file, that EJB. And here are all the actions I can do to it. And I can actually see one create weekly forecast action. And when we click on it, we see that we have a policy attached to it called create weekly. And when we click on that policy, we see that people who have the financial advisor role, like David K., can actually invoke that and inject those weekly forecasts into it. Pretty good. Now we go back to services, and we go here to the JK Financial Services. Let's make this a little bigger. And we have the client search portlet, for example. We put in there a client search policy which says only members of the financial advisor can view, so it's going to be invisible for everybody else, and I can actually invoke that client search portlet. Pretty good. Let's see what else we did here in setting up policies. On the research portlet, we see that again in the advanced fundamental analysis, we have an advanced fundamental policy that we put in there, and in there we says that only members of the financial advisor group can invoke that. Everybody else will be able to see it, but it's going to be grayed out. They cannot invoke that policy. So as you see, a security officer can actually add policy, move people around the group, do whatever he needs to do without having to touch any of those applications. So let's see what's the end result of that. If we log in as David K., who is a member of that powerful financial advisor group, I can go to applications, JK Finance, and we see that he can see and invoke the actual client search portlet. Pretty good. This doesn't have any security policy attached, so everybody can see this investment one. But on the research, David see this one actually active because we put a policy in there that says that only members of this group will be able to actually invoke it. Everybody else can see it, but it will see them like he sees all these, which are grayed out. And in the weekly forecast, this market update, by the way, we didn't put any policy in it, so everybody can see it as well. And in the weekly forecast, David can actually go there, and let's say that he's adding weekly forecast for company ABC, and he said the price on Monday is going to be $23, on Tuesday is going to be $24, Wednesday is going to be $25, Thursday is going to be $27, and then things go kind of almost back to normal on Friday. So he clicks OK, and that weekly, when we go to week 23 to see the forecast, bang, here's the weekly forecast that he just added. Okay, so how are things for Jack B? If we log in as Jack B, we see that Jack actually is not going to be able to see that client search portlet. You see it's not there. This investment is can be seen for everybody. And in the advanced fundamental analysis, it's grayed out. He cannot invoke that one by virtue of the policy. And in here, we're going to intercept any transaction he tries to do. For example, if he tries to do, let's say I'm going to do company DEF. And I'm going to say the forecast is $1, and Tuesday is $3, Wednesday is $4, and Thursday is $4, and on Friday is 0.5. We have a bad Friday here. And we click OK. Well, guess what? That transaction is going to be let go because we have that plugin that says, that transaction doesn't go there. That DEF thing that he didn't go there. So again, TSPM allows us to externalize the security of all those applications, being brought up into an intuitive console that the security officer can actually apply and enforce application without having to know anything about the application programming of the nature of those.